know I kind of dropped off of YouTube for a little while, but I've been so busy trying to get moved, and I got into my apartment, but I kind of moved in stages. So I've been, as you can see, I have a load to go to the house. This should be the last of it. This is all clothes that I want to go through and see if I'm going to list them on eBay or if they're going to go to the consignment shop or the thrift shop. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about. Whoops, I don't know, something fell back there. Was eBay. I've been on eBay since 1999. So what is that? Oops, 27 years, I think. And in that time, I've been pretty stubborn, loyal eBay person. However, I've noticed over the past few months, eBay has kind of trickled off, and I'm not sure why. I sell all kinds of things. I sell shoes, boots, clothes, men's and women's, not too many kids, a few kids. And then a lot of hard goods, like anything from nail guns to Limoges vases. So I'm kind of an everything seller. I'm trying to cut that back a little bit because I don't have the storage for it anymore, and I don't want to deal with a 3,000 or 4,000 item store. Store. But what I wanted to talk about was I have been stubborn, and I've been kind of set in my ways. I'm almost 67, and I guess it's not that it's hard for me to change. I've pivoted so many times in my life, it's really not a big deal. For some reason, I just wasn't willing to cross list. However, I did finally go. I was watching Kaylee Elaine. If you haven't seen her, you should watch her. She's pretty cool. And Commonwealth Flipper and all my favorites, you know. And a lot of them cross-post and cross-list to different platforms. And so I got this coupon from one of the YouTubers, I can't remember which one it was, for 20 or 30% off. I think it was 20% off of Nifty.AI, which used to be List Perfectly. And so I thought, you know what, I'll give that a try for a month and see what happens. So it came out to, I think it was, what I'm using is about $60 a month, I believe. And it's like 1,000 listings, and it'll cross list for you, and it'll delist for you when something sells. If it sells on eBay, it delists off of the other platforms immediately. So that's really helpful. It also has a thing where it will share and make offers on Poshmark and eBay as well, which has been great. I also signed up for Depop, which I've never been on Depop, but I thought I'd give it a try because a lot of people have been talking about it. So the first week I was on it, you get like a 7-day free trial for a week, and then you pay for it. The first week I actually made more than enough to pay for it. And then now this will be the second week, and I've made about, I want to say probably $200 or $300. I haven't gone in and crunched all the numbers yet, but it's been a good week, and I'm only listing maybe 4 or 5 things a day. I do plan to go to 10 a day as soon as probably within the next 3 or 4 days. I've been kind of busy and I haven't had time to do that. But with the Nifty.AI, the great thing is when you can list with your photos. So you just download or upload or whatever it is, your photos into Nifty, and it will create a listing for you. Of course, you know, there's typos and there's some issues with measurements because obviously it's an AI. It's trying to read what your measurements are, and sometimes it's hard to tell. But it's not off by more than maybe an inch. So I was quite surprised at how accurate it was, honestly. I have used it every single listing so far for the last 20 listings, and it's done very well. And one thing that's really nice is I would say 75% of what I've listed over the last, let's see, it'd be 13 days or 14 days, have a lot of that, it's sold. So 3/4 of what I've listed is sold. And that's great. And that's wonderful. And I like the idea that it'll go in and make offers for me. And you have to go in, of course, when you sign up, you go into the settings and you set up all of that stuff, and your delisting and all that. It's, it took me about 20 minutes to get everything set up, and then it just kind of runs by itself, which is what I need, because honestly, when I get back into the groove, which I am now starting back into that, it's nice to be able to just go in, upload pictures, and then get your 10 listings out in about an hour or less, really, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. It'll delist it. Like I said, it delists, it shares, it does all of that, it makes offers. It's amazing. It also has some pages where you can go in and see exactly what you've sold, how much it's sold for, what all the costs were, and it has a place to put in your cost of goods, which is very helpful, because then you can see exactly what your profit is, instead of having to do spreadsheets and all that. And I've done spreadsheets and I've done ledgers by hand, but it's worth it to me at it comes out to about $2 a day to have something so efficient and working so well, and it does so much that it frees me up to do other things. And generally speaking, it frees me up to go sourcing, or to take more pictures, take more photos, and that kind of thing. So, and I've been getting some things from people that they just bring me stuff, or they'll call me and say, hey, I was going to the thrift store, but instead of doing that, do you want it? I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. So then I usually put it in my car, and I'll go sit at the park or something and go through it all. I don't like to take stuff to my house until I've gone through it to make sure I know what's in there. You never know. Occasionally somebody gets a mouse, or something's really bad. I don't want to drag that into my house, and I don't have a garage. So I just go to the park, or I go to my daughter's driveway and sit there and look through everything. She loves it. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and I wanted to touch base with you guys about that. I will put up here, I'll show you the report that Nifty generates for you, so you can see what your sales are and what your profit is and that kind of thing. Some things I forgot to put in the cost of goods, but I'll get better at it as I go. I signed up for it, I think it was the 1st, might have been the 3rd, I can't remember exactly. But like I said, it's been doing amazing. It's paid for itself already, and now it's definitely providing me more profit. And I think because I was so stubborn about cross-listing, I've lost out, and I'm kind of kicking myself, because I could have done this a year ago and really been at it and hit it hard, and I haven't, and that just irritates me that I did that. But that's where I'm at right now. As you can see, the back of my car is loaded because I went to my son's storage unit where I've stored a lot of stuff before I moved, and this is the last of all the clothing. Like I said, I have no idea what's in there. A lot of it was given to me, and some of it is stuff that I just never got listed. And now that I live in an apartment, I do have enough room to probably have 1,000 pieces, 1,000 items, and I really want to keep it below that if I can. It's not only because of storage, but it's also just easier, than when you have a ton of stuff to deal with. Now, if I had a garage that was exclusively for inventory, then I'd probably fill it up. But so that's kind of where that's at. I also wanted to talk real quick. In one of my videos, I talked about Social Security, and I was on Social Security. I took Social Security at 62. A lot of that reasoning was because at the time I was having some health issues, and I thought it would be better if I only worked part-time, because working full-time was really very difficult for me. So I took it early at 62, and I also I'm one of those people that just assumes that I'm going to die at 64, and the government's going to get the rest of it. So, because you can't bequeath your Social Security, really. So I'm hoping that I'll live long enough to at least use most of it, and it'll last that long. I know there's a lot of people out there that claim that I think in 7 years it's going to be dried up or something, but I've been hearing that for 30 years, so who knows? You never know. But I did take Social Security early, and I've never made a lot of money. I've always been a blue-collar worker. I was an EMT and a dispatcher for about 15 years, and you just don't make a lot of money doing that. I also was a Navy wife for 20 years, and I do not receive benefits from my ex-husband. It's a long story. I am entitled to it, and I could go after it, but at this point in my life, that was 25 years ago we got divorced or more. It's actually been 28 years, I guess. And he basically threatened me if I tried to take his benefits. And at the time, it just wasn't worth it to me to fight with him. Both my teenage kids came to live with me. They didn't want to live with their dad. He's not a bad person. He's just different. So I live on, my Social Security is $1,032 a month. They take out Medicare Part B, which is, I think, $202. And then I have a supplement, which I have to pay for. So I'm actually living on about $790 a month. Not much. Thankfully, I have moved to an area where the rent is low. It's $750 a month. And that includes everything except my electricity and my Wi-Fi. And my electricity is very, very low because the heating is part of the rent. And it's like a radiator heat type thing. Water, I don't understand it. There's a big boiler in the building and it heats the whole building. So that's not too bad, really. And my electric runs about $45 a month, and the reason it runs that much is because there's a $33 and something service fee. But I wanted to let you guys know, I did get some messages from people that said, your Social Security can't be that low, and I'm like, you'd be surprised how many people's Social Security is that low, because we just didn't make a lot of money. I was a mom. I was raising my kids for 18 years. I raised my kids, and I was a Navy wife. I didn't work. Or if I did, it was little part-time jobs here and there. And then when I did work full-time, I just never made more than about $30,000 a year. So I've never made a lot of money. And that's one reason I do eBay. I'm also a seamstress, so I do a lot of clothing repairs and hemming, and I put in zippers. And I make clothes for people. I make a lot of custom clothes, or I used to. I haven't recently. I'm trying to get back into that now. I love to sew. That's my go-to when I'm stressed out. Just can't handle the world. I just go sit at my sewing machine and make something. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Being poor, I am poor. I sold my house. I didn't take a loss. I pretty much broke even because it needed a ton of work. And I sold it because I just couldn't take care of it anymore. And I lived in a very isolated town of about 400 people. And we get a ton of snow. And it just got to where it was too much for me to deal with. And I didn't want to have to ask my kids. My kids will do anything I ask them to do. But they have lives. They have children. My kids are in their 40s and they've got young kids. They've got 7, 8, 9-year-old kids. I just couldn't do that to them. So I just decided that it was time for me to simplify. I took about 2 years. The last couple of years I just kind of goofed off and traveled and did short trips and messed around. And now I'm settled back down into the valley here. And if you go back and look at my videos, you can see where I live. But, now I'm settled and I'm probably going to stay here for a while, probably forever. My sister is here. I have a twin sister. Her husband is in his 80s, and so he's not in great health, and I think she's going to need me. So that's why I've decided I'm going to stay in the valley. And I've got my daughter and my 2 granddaughters here, and we have a lot of fun. And my daughter she likes to come over and help me, and I go help her. Yesterday we changed the oil in my car, and I dishes and a couple of loads of laundry. So we have a great relationship in that respect. So I guess that's kind of what I wanted to catch up on, and like I said, I'll show you what the report looks like on Nifty. It is expensive if you think about it. I think it's $70 when you're not using a coupon, but the coupon will run out. You know, it's only for a month. But even with $70, that's, like I said, that's what, $2 and some odd cents or something a day, which is a huge help to me, and I certainly have been making that, more than that, you know. So I think in the long run this is going to do me well. I kind of had to let eBay drop. I had it on time away for a while, and so it's kind of, you know, it kind of starts to die off a little bit, and you got to kick it back into gear. So that's what I'm doing right now, is trying to kick everything back into gear. And now I'm listing on Poshmark, and I'm also listing on Depop. I've only had one sale on Depop, but I had a ton of interest. So that's a good sign. Most of my sales, believe it or not, have been on Poshmark. My sale price wasn't quite as high as on eBay, but I've sold a lot more smaller items, you know, smaller as in less, what am I trying to say? The profit. I'm not making as much profit, but that's because a lot of that stuff just needs to get out of my closet. I need to get it out of there. So that's kind of where I'm at. I will get back with you guys again soon and see how things are going. I hope you're all doing well. Today's Valentine's Day, I believe. Yeah, it is. I don't think about Valentine's Day much. Even when I was married, I didn't think about Valentine's Day. My husband was usually gone because he was in the Navy. He was very seldom home on Valentine's Day. So, you know, it was one of those things that just wasn't a big deal. But my granddaughters love it. So I'll get back to you soon, and I'll let you know what's going on. Like I said, go back on my other videos and you can kind of see where I live and what kind of town I live in. It's only a town of about 1,600 people. It's actually 20 miles from where I lived for 25 years. And I'm kind of glad to be back. A lot of my friends are here. I have a ton of friends here, actually. So it's kind of nice to be able to see familiar faces and all that kind of thing. We're headed into a very serious drought because we haven't had any snow. And the snow is what gives us our moisture, and there's not a lot of rain in the forecast. So Wyoming is definitely going to have a drought this year, at least down where we're at. So I will talk to you guys later. I hope you're doing well. I will tell you I miss doing Uber. I'll probably go back over to like Laramie or Cheyenne and do Uber for a while here and there, just because it makes good money and I miss it. I really do miss it. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye. Be sure and like and subscribe.